just to make sure I don't fall on the stage.
I was worried about this.
Yeah, I can feel my foot slightly moving to the back.
It would be very funny if it was on if it would go viral.
It would go viral for sure, but when it's you, it's a bit of a shame. I feel like my microphone is...
It's open.
Oh.
Can you hear me? Est-ce que vous savez bien m'entendre? Yeah?
All right.
Okay.
Welcome everybody. For the ones that just arrived, quick introduction. My name is Lucas. I am a manufacturing expert and I work in the business service team. Here I have Mathieu. He's the product owner that helps developing and improving the manufacturing applications. And could you introduce yourself?
I'm Renee. I do operations over in our San Francisco office, and I'll be helping interview.
Thank you. Well, that's it. So please ask all your questions about manufacturing, and we are here gladly to answer all of them.
So I'll start with our first question. Is there or will there be a possibility to combine outsourced operations and in-house ones in one routing?
All right. I think here the question probably it refers to subcontracting in the BOM. If I think this is the question. If so, indeed, it's not the possibility at the moment, but we are considering it for the next version. At the moment, if you want to subcontract part of your manufacturing, it has to go via a purchase order, and it cannot be done within the same manufacturing order.
Totally agree.
If I scrap a component and I need that component to be consumed anyway, can Odoo handle automatically the picking need?
Not yet, right? If I'm not mistaken, because if you scrap the component during a work order, the picking will not be reflected for the moment. Maybe they are talking about the new option to replenish from
Perhaps,
scrap.
yeah.
If you have these in a stock move, such as the picking if you are in 2 steps, or the start finished product if you are in 3 steps, then Odoo automatically creates a new demand. But if this component is scrapped directly from a work order, then for the moment it's not possible, but potentially in the next version it will be.
Indeed. So currently we do have an option to replenish the scrap quantities if you need it in the same location. But I think it's true we don't have it in the shop floor, but it will be quite easy for us to add it.
My customer does refurbishments as a manufacturing order. We have a basic bill of material, but additional components are always required. If an additional component is required during the manufacturing, we call this an unplanned issue. Whoever's writing this has not finished writing.
Okay.
So I'll go down to the next guy. Is there real-time consumption of components while the manufacturing order is in progress, as in confirmed product moves? And are there any entries reflected for the work order entries?
Here I think the question is more about the stock moves
Yes.
during the execution, right?
So indeed, as long as the manufacturing order is open, we don't process any stock moves for the components of your manufacturing order. It is not something that we are currently evaluating either. What we are evaluating is the possibility of posting a journal entry corresponding to what has been theoretically consumed in the MO, so like a WIP, if you like. But at the moment we are not consuming components in the MO. It's only when you close the MO that we will do a product moves for the components and then a product move for the final product. I know that reason why people sometimes raise this question is because they would like these journal entries to be posted. If that is the case, then I would suggest to work in a 2-step manufacturing process. And instead of consuming your manufacturing order components in the actual MO, you could consume them in the pre-production picking, which will be a move from your stock location to the pre-production location, and here there will be a journal entry that could be generated.
And just to add something on top of that, because we usually receive this question, because in the bill of materials we have the column consumed in operation, and then people think that the fact we are saying that a given component is consumed in one operation is because we are already consuming this item from stock. But the main purpose of having this column is to display the component in the right operation. Imagine you are using the new shop floor app. So the example that we gave during the presentation was that we were assembling something, and then afterwards we would paint. So I don't need to consume the ink in the assembly operation. So this is why we have this consumed in operation, just to display in real time which components should be consumed to avoid any mistake of someone assembling, saying that, okay, I'm consuming something that should be only afterwards.
Perfect.
Exactly.
And a little bit of a follow-up on that. How to correctly calculate real cost of production in case of changing of cost of components used for production, and how to update that information about product costs in the sales order.
Well, I think in this case, if
We have the MO overview, right?
yeah, from the MO overview you can see what is going on in terms of costing, but I'm not sure if the moment the cost changes. The main point of this question is if I started my manufacturing order and then the cost changes. I mean, in the end, what will be taken into consideration for this manufacturing order is the cost of that component that was in stock at that moment. So even if I have an ongoing manufacturing order and at the same moment I buy a more expensive component, in the end, if I already had one that was cheaper in stock and I'm consuming the cheaper one, it will not be reflected in this manufacturing order. But if by any given reason I scrap the cheap component and I consume the more expensive one, then the cost is reflected automatically.
Okay, so if you add an additional component in, it's the same process?
Yeah.
Perfect. Cool. Is there real-time consumption of components while the manufacturing order is in progress? And I think you just touched on this, right? Perfect. Can the manufacturing order overview be filtered by individual manufacturing order in Odoo 17?
No, there is no filter possibility in the MO overview. No.
How do you set up the engineering to order flux? How do you link manufacturing orders to projects?
Currently, this is done with analytical accounting. So if you have the same analytical account on the project and the MO, then the two will be linked.
Yeah, but in terms of project tasks, if you have the WBS, the breakdown structure of your project, there is no link between manufacturing order and the specific task of that project. But indeed, as Matteo said, all the costs of this manufacturing order will be taken on the project thanks to the analytic account.
Perfect. How do you manage high volume subcontracting with traceability on components?
So here there are a few ways. Actually, in version 16, we introduced the subcontracting portal. So this is one of the ways where your subcontractor can log in to your production order and himself indicate the tracking of the components that they have used in their production, or otherwise during your reception of the components of the final product, it just looks like like a normal manufacturing order where you're registering the final product and the components, and it's just like a normal MO where you are registering various lots and serials. And if it's very, very complex, you could also think about doing that with an import.
Yeah, and this is a very nice point because we received some questions from clients and partners about the possibility to have an easy way to record the serial numbers that you are receiving from the subcontractor, because you could imagine a very simple example that you are receiving serial number from 1 to 100. Okay, you could simply generate in a sequence. We have this button, but sometimes the subcontractor will not send a sequence, a perfect sequence. They send serial number 1, 3, 5, 23. Then if you at least have this list in an Excel file or something, you can easily copy and paste these serial numbers when you are receiving the finished product, and then automates the process.
Perfect. And how can you assign tools like drills to a workstation, order, or bill of material?
Actually, you cannot. You can link equipments to equipment categories. But wait, I'm just hesitating a tiny bit. But no, you cannot. You cannot link the equipment to the work centers at the moment. But it's definitely something that we should do. I think. Yeah. So.
Awesome. Well, great suggestion.
Yeah.
And how do you manage refurbishing products with a change of bill of material for traceability reasons?
Can you repeat the question?
How do you manage refurbishing products with a change of bill of materials for traceability?
Okay, I'm just wondering if you update the bill of but I feel like that there are two different questions over here. So if we put the traceability question aside, how do you update a bill of material?
I think it sounds like it's on the fly, updating a bill of material while in the process of refurbishing.
Yeah, so I think, okay, so it's slightly tricky. So today, in version 17, we introduced the possibility to update ongoing manufacturing orders when a bill of material is updated. But we only do that when the manufacturing order is either in a draft or in a confirmed mode. We are thinking about doing it when the MO is also in progress, but it's something we are currently working on. And so basically what happens here is that as soon as you edit your BOM in the back end, you will have an update BOM button appearing on the MO, which will allow you to update work orders, components, and so on.
And also, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I think
Yeah, it's just to add, because I have the feeling that this seems to be a very specific use case. So I think you will be in the booth after today, and then we'll be most of the time tomorrow. So the person who asked this question, please don't hesitate to go to the booth, and then we can review together in more detail.
Perfect. And another kind of specific use case here, we change the end date of a manufacturing order to put it in the future. Is the raw material available if a new order for the same product arrives and it is to deliver before the first one? Or is the raw material still reserved for the first order?
Yeah, it's still reserved for the first order,
It's
right?
still reserved for the first order, but in this case what you can do is that you could unreserve the components for your manufacturing order. And then, depending on the reservation mechanism that you have on your manufacturing operation type, Odoo will choose which manufacturing order it will reserve the components for. So typically, if you are using the reserve X days before the manufacturing order, in this use case, we will reserve the components for the newly created MO because it has an earlier scheduled date, and we would then keep the wait to reserve the components for the new MO at a later date.
Yeah, and maybe just a tip, because few people know about that. If you have two manufacturing orders that will require the same component and we don't have this component, the one that is more important, you can just click on the star. There is always a star in the manufacturing order. And as soon as this component arrives, if it's not in enough quantity to cover both manufacturing orders, the quantities will be reserved for the manufacturing order with a star because this is a priority.
Perfect. And is it planned to include consumed versus planned quantities at manufacturing order in reporting to review the efficiency of the process?
Yes, actually we did that this year. And so we do it for the components and we also do it for the final product. So for the final product, if you're not creating any back orders, we separate between what was expected to be produced, so the quantity to produce and the quantity produced. And you can analyze this in the production analysis report, but we do the same for the components. So for the components now, you only have one line. I know that the person who asked this question probably knows that before we used to split the lines when we were consuming less, and we used to update the initial demand when we're consuming more. But today, we keep the demand of component as it is when you confirm your MO, and we just update the consumed to be less or more. And so you can compare these different things.
Perfect. And now we've got a question on cost distribution. Most of the customers for this particular partner wants to place an indirect cost on manufacturing orders. So let's say we have an invoice which is indirect cost, and we would want to distribute those costs on a period in a specific work center. How would you handle that?
Well, I would say that if the process or this cost comes from an invoice, the same structure that you have in the manufacturing order, which is the analytic distribution, is the same in the vendor bill. So if you receive, let's say, the electricity bill, you can spread this cost over different analytic accounts in different percentages if needed. But then, what was the rest of the question? Sorry.
How would we distribute those costs over a period in a specific work center?
Yeah, because there is also the possibility to configure in the work center the cost per hour, which is in general all indirect costs that could be rental, electricity, insurance, and this is calculated according to the time that you spend in work orders. So there is also the cost that is recorded as soon as you close the work orders, which is this one that I mentioned from the work center, that is also allocated in the analytic accounts that you have in the bill of materials and in the manufacturing order. But you also have the second possibility to book an external cost, let's say, from a vendor bill using the same analytic distribution.
Perfect.
And also on the work center today, you can specify an analytical account. So if you want I think the question mentioned something about spreading that cost onto a work center, you could have a dedicated work center analytical account, and part of the distribution that Lucas mentioned before could be allocated to that account.
Perfect. And in a situation where we have a product that gets transformed from raw material to a finished product through multiple bills of material, is there any way to manage a unique lot number from raw material to finished product, i.e. propagating the lot number through all of the steps?
It's a good question. We have received this feedback in the past, but we're currently not able to do it.
Okay.
But it's something we are considering.
Perfect. Are there any plans to develop multi-level demand management in Odoo, meaning that you can do forecasting or procurement on lower level components in a multi-level bill of material manufacturing scenario?
So since this is a question about what is planned, I might no, it's not currently planned. We always work from the top level to the bottom level. Typically, this is done in the production scheduler, but no, we don't plan to go the other way around.
Are there any plans to include the cost of components scrapped during the production to the manufacturing order cost?
Not at the moment, no.
Can we run operations in parallel?
Yes, absolutely. From the work center list view, for instance, you can start several work orders at the same time, or even from the shop floor, if I'm not mistaken, you can also start more than one work order. So definitely.
Perfect. And is there a way to set up manufacturing in 2 steps, but without a stock picking per manufacturing order? I don't want to confirm these moves one by one, but rather have a stock to consume in my production station, and I'll only resupply when it's empty.
So I think this was shown in one of the demos I saw today, but there is an option that you can tick on your locations, which is called, which is a replenishment location. So by default, the warehouse stock location is set up like that. But if you do that on the pre-production location, you will see also in your replenishment report all of the quantities that are needed for the production. And so if you transform your rule from stock to pre-production in MTS, or a make-to-stock rule mechanism, and you take this box on the pre-production location, then you will not have a transfer created for every manufacturing order anymore, but instead it will be either a manual or an automatic replenishment, just like the normal stock location.
And there is also the possibility to do a more sophisticated configuration in your route to use a fixed procurement group. So you can definitely group several manufacturing orders that would create one picking for each in only one or more than one picking, but you would have a reduced amount of picking, so you avoid unnecessary moves between the warehouse and the production line.
Right. And can you do an unbuild on the shop floor?
No.
Oh, no?
No, not on the shop floor, because on the shop floor you are still building the product. The unbuild at the moment, it's only when the MO is closed.
True.
Yeah.
Good point. And this is a fun question. Give me a couple of your kind of favorite upcoming features that didn't quite make it to Odoo 17.
Oh, very good question. So for me, I wanted to work a lot on MPS, on the master production schedule for this version, but we didn't make it on time. So this will be one of the first building blocks after this week's conference. And also we did make some improvements to the PLM app that we decided not too much for version 17, but that will come for the later versions. I mean, nothing is confirmed, but what we would like to do in the PLM app is that if you are let's say, updating a product that is used in several bombs, or you're updating a bomb that is used in several top-level bombs, to automatically be able to update these versions as well. So those are things we are currently working on. I will not to go into more into details, but it's perhaps next year.
Perfect. And we have another refurbish question. So the question is that currently you can't reuse a serial number for, say, a midlife upgrade of a product because it's already been used. Is there a possibility of adding that as a standard function in the future?
So this is actually a tricky question. When you say that it's not possible, the reason why currently it is not possible to reuse a serial number in another production is because we currently have a constraint on the production location in Odoo that says that serial numbers can only exist as a maximum quantity of 1 in that location. To solve this issue, let's say that you want to use that serial number for another production, you simply go to your initial manufacturing order. I mean, the product has moved anyways, apparently because you're moving it to another production. Then you can change or delete the quantity that was used in this manufacturing order, which will update the quantity in the production location to 0. And then you can reuse that product because the constraint no longer exists in your manufacturing order. So currently it's a security that is in the system to make sure that your traceability is always accurate. So we have that not only for the production location, but we also have it for the stock location, for other internal locations. We don't have it for the customer location, but it's currently a security that we have in place. And since there is a workaround to avoid that, we are currently not too inclined to change it. But we have heard some feedbacks about that in the past, so we will definitely reconsider it. I mean, but at the moment we haven't done it for version 17 at least.
Perfect. And can I export the cost analysis of multiple products at the same time, particularly for multi-level bill of materials?
Well, I think from the pivot view, there is a report called production
exactly,
cost.
yeah.
So
Either from the pivot view or from the list of your manufacturing order, you do a action print cost analysis for several, and no problem.
Perfect. And how do you manage the manufacturing of finished products tracked by serial number and produced in really big quantities for 50, 60, 70,000 items per production run?
Well, I think there are some possibilities here. So if you are producing one by one, you have your manufacturing order and you do it one by one and you want to register the production indeed step by step, then Odoo creates a back order as soon as you produce each serial number. But on the other hand, if you want, since the beginning, to create all the serial numbers, because maybe you need to print the labels to stick on each serial number, I don't know, then you have the possibility to split this manufacturing order. And the third option would be also to use the mass produce. The only difference is the mass produce requires that you have all components in stock. It's really when you have everything ready, you start and you then create all the serial numbers in advance. And the split that I mentioned previously, you don't need to have all the components. You can do it in advance. You plan some manufacturing orders in the future, but you still create everything before.
Perfect. And can the manufacturing overview be filtered by individual manufacturing order in Odoo 17? It was not possible in 16.
The manufacturing order overview?
Yes.
Yeah.
Can the manufacturing overview be filtered by individual MO?
No.
No.
You see everything.
Okay. Can manufacturing in Odoo be used for food catering?
Well, I think so, because
Yeah, it could be, of course,
Yeah.
but I would recommend to use perhaps the kitchen apps of Odoo. I mean, I don't know exactly what is the need. Perhaps you could discuss it at the booth or something, but I don't see.
Well, they already had a project.
Oh, yeah?
They were
Okay.
They were dealing with catering, and then
Okay.
it was totally fine. But in the end, if it's not the production itself, the cooking, let's say, it's just a matter of shipping the products. The kit could also be a good
Yeah.
idea, because in the
Yeah,
end,
good point.
Perfect. And Lucas just said that you can group pickings. Could you please explain more about that? How do you accomplish it? You were saying it's a bit more complex to set up.
yeah, it will be difficult to explain with words only. Maybe you can come to the booth. Because we covered this topic on Monday during the Smart class, we can adapt the routes. Of course, if I say here, it will be difficult to visualize what I'm talking about, but it's really possible to change the way the routes are configured. We can use what we call fixed procurement groups, and then you can really group all the pickings in only one document instead of having several. Another possibility, if you work with wave pickings in inventory, you can also use the wave for grouping purposes. But yeah, please come to me and I will show you it's better than I try to explain with only words.
Is in Odoo 16 duplicating a product did not copy the bill of material? Is it possible in 17? If not, why?
No, it's not possible in version 17. It's not because you're duplicating a product that you are necessarily duplicating the bill of material. If you would like that to happen, then you can simply duplicate the bill of material. And from that, the first field that you will be asked to fill in is the product name. And so in that case, if you want to create a copy of your product, then you can do it like that.
Perfect. If I have a work order that is for an example, for the quantity of 10, but I ended up producing 12, can this be reflected in the next work order?
Can you repeat?
If you have a work order for the quantity of 10, but you ended up producing 12, can that be reflected in the next work order?
Well, not in the next, because in the end you had a gain in your production, for instance, and then you produced more than expected, but it was the same work order.
That's it. If you produce less, it will be reflected in the next work order, because if you have to produce 10 and you produce only 4 in the first work order, then you will be asked to only produce 6 in the next one. But if you produce more, we will just mark the work order as done, and that's it.
Is it possible to batch subcontracting manufacturing orders?
No, I don't think so, if I get the question correctly. Because as soon as you have one purchase order, you have one subcontracting. So to group everything, maybe it's better, if I understood correctly, to raise one purchase order with more quantities. But maybe I'm not sure if this is the question behind.
Yeah, the only way to batch the subcontracting order would be to add the products to the same purchase order, and by default we do batch orders to the same vendor when the purchase order is open.
Which would be a good idea, because then you
yeah.
can get a better price if you subcontracting both.
Perfect. Well, thank you guys so much.
Our
Thank you.
pleasure. Thank you.